What's up, boys and girls? Hydra here. A lot of people were bugging me to make a clip about Feral Mage Priest, and I thought about it and realised that I didn't exactly know what to do against the comp myself. So we went out and played a bunch of games against it, and this video is basically going to be about how we developed a strategy to beat the setup, even though we shouldn't be beating it in my opinion. I mean, the Feral has more damage than the Rogue now, he has more CC, he has more survivability, and he has healing to some extent as well. So we started out just playing it like a regular RMP mirror, and going on the mage, purging him up, keeping the Rogue on him as much as we could, and trying to get a kill with CC on the Priest. But we found that, as you'll see from this first clip, which is a little bit long, the Feral has Cyclone every like 10 seconds on somebody in our team. So whenever we start to get any pressure, one of our DPS gets cycloned, and whenever they start to get any pressure, I get cycloned. They just seem to be able to drop an enormous amount of blanket CC on me without even getting any polys. I mean, I'm just getting deep freeze, CS, cycloned, feared, pretty much on cooldown. And because we're playing defensive, I can't really do that much about it. And once you start playing defensive as RMP, it's a really slippery slope. You want to try and get on the offensive, you know, as quick as possible for as long as possible, because if you're not, then you're losing. So as you can see, I've just sped up the majority of the game by about 50%, just so it doesn't get too tedious. Nothing really that special is going on. It's mainly them getting short amounts of CC on me, us getting CC on their priest, and both teams trying to kill the mage. Having said that, if you do want to check out the full game in normal speed, then I'll upload that as well, and you can just click here to go to that. I'm just going to let the majority of this clip play out, and I'll slow it back down again towards the end, so I can describe the kill and our thoughts on the strategy at the end of the game. Okay, so I'm going to slow it down again now and just highlight why this strategy doesn't really work. Like, without being offensive to them, these are basically randoms, and we're struggling like crazy against them. So obviously we've got something wrong with the strategy. So the game ends in a second, and then I'm just going to be going over our thought process after the game, how we sort of develop a new sort of strategy, think about the game that just happened, what we did wrong, and what we can do better in future games. So this is actually another quick lesson for you. The game looked like it was going to end. Mage on like 5%, no mana, no health, and I'm looking to take some CC, but we don't give up, and I managed to get a few heals on the mage, a fear on the priest, and the mage can then nova the feral and get an evocate off, and as you can see, he's now back to full health with about 60% mana, and the game continues. So they used a lot of their cooldowns offensively to try and get a kill on the mage, and fortunately for us, he managed to survive. That means they have a lot less cooldowns to survive and gives us an opportunity to get a kill. So we managed to force block here without too much trouble. And due to their lack of defensive cooldowns now, it gives us the opportunity to pop a bomb on the mage, dance him, and he goes down. Now after this game, our thoughts was basically, okay, we can't do this strategy reliably. You know, we're going to tank games occasionally to a good team if we try training the mage. So we've got two options. We can either try and improve how we're training the mage by going more offensive usually, or we can try a completely different strategy, which could mean going on one person and swapping to another, or just training a completely different person. So in this case, we decide, okay, they don't have a rogue, let's train the priest and see what happens. Since priests are probably the most vulnerable class in this setup, we can't really train the feral because he has unlimited snare breakers and a bunch of root breakers as well. So if we go on him, he's just going to jog about forever and we're never actually going to get a kill while the priest is CC'd. Here's two games where we tunnel the priest with much greater success than the previous game. The opener is basically sapping the priest, getting field off him and as much other stuff as we possibly can, and then opening on him before the mage novas anyone out. That way the mage can get a shatter on the priest and we can instantly force PS. Then once the priest has used PS, I need to be on top of the priest to fear the priest and the feral, so that the priest's PS is basically wasted, and he either has to trinket to dispel his feral, or his feral has to trinket in order to get pressure. Now as you can see, I'm largely focused on dispelling my rogue as much as possible and dispelling anything I possibly can off the priest while keeping dots up and doing damage in general. As you can see, I popped Shadow Fiend as well. So looking at this game, even with a bunch of mistakes and the mage barely on the priest at all, with a good opener it's possible to take down the priest and seemed a lot easier to win compared to the previous game. Now here's another game where we go on the priest, and we've improved our execution of the strategy slightly, but the principle is exactly the same. So it's important to note that we did actually try going on the mage a lot more than just one game, and that just because a strategy doesn't work well one time, it could just mean your execution was poor, you got unlucky with some sort of crits or CC at bad times, and in general there is some variance in WoW, and you should just keep trying different strategies really, just so you can see which one is the most reliably consistent. So at the end of the day, we found out that the lack of a rogue on their setup pretty much lets us get whatever opener we want, since they don't have sap. So opening on the priest was always the best option for us, due to having sap on him and being able to completely purge him up. We were basically always able to force PS, and even if we didn't manage to zerg the priest down, we forced a ton of cooldowns like PS, trinket, barrier, pretty much every game, and then we were able to just go on the mage after that, and the priest wasn't really able to keep him alive.